The reality is that 1 in 8 women in both Canada and the US will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. And so that means that a lot of us, our friends and our family, will face this challenge. And additionally, 1 in 2 people in both Canada and the US will be diagnosed with some form of cancer in their lifetime. And that's way too high for sure. My grandmother passed away 3 years before I was born, and I never had a chance to meet her. And I'm told that I am a lot like her. And it didn't really hit me till recently that it's so sad that I didn't have that opportunity to get to know her. And then when I was about 25, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was in her late 40s. And I remember my mom saying to me at the time, I hope when you're in your 40s that they will have a cure for cancer. And that was 40 years ago now, roughly. Not quite, but close enough to 40 years ago. And we still don't have a cure for cancer. And I don't think we should be, I don't know if it's looking for a cure because I don't think there's a silver bullet, but I do know that it is possible to prevent and help our bodies by the food that we eat. And we can prevent cancer and cure cancer one bite at a time. That's really where I come from. And I'm hoping that by the end of the session that you will have a good understanding for the nutrition and detox that can transform your journey and improve your outcome and longevity, because that's really what it's all about. At least that's where I come from. Although I'm not a cancer survivor, I am the mother of a childhood cancer survivor. What we're going to cover is understanding what causes breast cancer, an introduction to metabolic nutrition. Detoxification is also really important because we have to get all those toxins out of our body. And then there's practical implementation. What do you do? How do you move forward? And then there's the power of our mindset, which is very important. So this is my daughter here. She had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was very aggressive form. When she was 5 years old, she was diagnosed. And literally they had to start chemo on day one. They didn't even have a chance to do any of the tests. They called code blue when she was in her hospital room the day that she was diagnosed. We were ushered out and she spent a number of days in the pediatrics ICU clinging to life at that point. And it was because they started the chemotherapy on her without having any of the testing done is the reason why she survived. So we went through a pretty rocky time with that. One of the things that I noticed when we were going through her treatment, she was at Sick Kids Hospital here in Toronto, which is a renowned hospital. She would be in for her treatment. We'd be in the playroom and the kids would be playing. Even then, I didn't know anything about nutrition then, but I knew feeding your kid diet pop was not a good thing. And it really made me stand up and think. But when I spoke to our oncologist in terms of what she should eat, they just wanted her to eat. This is a more or less recent picture of her now. So she's now 33 years old and is a thriving young adult. That's my link to cancer. But for me, about 10 years ago, I made a decision to get off the sugar train. I was starting to feel a lot of health issues coming on. I had really bad headaches. I had a lot of other issues that were cropping up. And I had heard that the sugar is such a vicious cycle for us, that the more we feed ourselves sugar, the more the brain wants sugar, and it just becomes a never-ending train. At the time, I didn't realize it, but I do now that I definitely have a few food addictions that I've had to wrestle to the ground. And sugar was one of them. 10 years ago, I did a juice fast, and that was my start to reclaiming my own health myself. It's been a long road over the 10 years, but I decided to go plant-based after my juice cleanse. I wasn't intending that at first, but I decided to do it because I was doing okay without the animal products, so I decided not to reintroduce them. I knew at that point that plant-based foods were really good for you. And so that's what I did. Right now, I am finishing off a program in metabolic nutrition and detox coaching and education. I retired from my 35 plus year corporate job to pursue my passion and my purpose in life, which is to change the lives of 1 million or more people through the power of food as medicine. I would like to read a story from one of the guests who was participating in the summit, if that's okay. And then we'll get into the nutrition stuff. This is from Kelly Nardona, who is a breast cancer survivor, and she was one of the presenters at the Vegan Women's Summit last year. Confucius said that we all have two lives. The second one begins when we realize we only have one. For me, that date occurred in April 1st, 2021, at the age of 44, when I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. Based on my cancer's characteristics, the chance of recurrence was estimated to be high at well over 40%. For some context, the breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States, right behind lung cancer. And less than 10% of the cases are hereditary. For me personally, I had no genetic predisposition. In the months to follow that year, I completed surgery and radiation, and next to determine whether to pursue additional conventional standard therapies, I sought the opinion of 4 oncologists who had recommended chemotherapy and an additional 10 years of medication, both of which, of course, can come with a host of debilitating and life-threatening side effects, but perhaps life-threatening as some impact your heart. A pivotal day for me came in June of that year when I sought out the opinion of a well-regarded oncologist at a world-class cancer center in Southern California. As I walked in the building that day, parked out in front of the building was a little blue truck. It almost looked like a little ice cream truck, but it was not for sure because there was a skull and crossbones prominently displayed on it with the word poison blazing. So I presumed that it contained chemotherapy. I proceeded with the appointment that day, and the physician reviewed with me the 4 recommendations, which included one of the most potent and toxic chemotherapy agents available, the red devil. It is known as that because it affects your heart. It's bright red color, and of course, hence the name. And by the way, my daughter had to take that medication, and every time she had to take it, she would have to have an echocardiogram to make sure that she would be able to withstand the next dose. But the thing about it, that was at the time, the drug changed the whole outlook for the kids, right? Anyway, towards the end of the appointment, I asked her, what about the power of nutrition and natural therapies? And she shook her head, no, any blueberries that you would have to eat would be unrealistic and impossible. So I left that day feeling a bit defeated. Shortly thereafter, I discovered a book by Chris Wark called Crispy Cancer. And in it, he details the evidence-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine principles that he used to combat his battle from 20 years prior and to remain cancer-free to this day. Interesting, the book has a skull and crossbones on it, but one that has 2 carrots and an apple. So I thought back to the blue truck outside the cancer center and took this as a sign. Over the next couple of weeks, I determined that I would not receive chemotherapy and tear down my immune system. I wanted to address the root cause of my cancer, not just survive, but thrive. And so I realized that by improving my lifestyle, specifically adopting the food as medicine approach, I could influence my health and healing. And ultimately, I had to accept the role I had in contributing to my cancer through past lifestyle choices, which at the time included the standard American diet, though I would say a healthier version of it. Certainly not enough sleep, inconsistent exercise habits, but often working 80 plus hours a week at times and eating too much sugar and pots of coffee a day. I wasn't so terribly mindful about the toxins that were pervasive in our environment, as we often contend with them. But with the acceptance came the realization that, wait a minute, if I contributed to where I am today, perhaps I can influence the next steps. in my health and healing. And rather than thinking of cancer as a random, uncontrollable illness, I can perhaps think of it as disease that I too can influence positively or negatively by every amount of food that I eat. And so on June 2021, I adopted a whole food plant-based diet, primarily raw in the beginning. For the first 6 months, there was lots of juicing at home with fruits and vegetables. I eliminated refined sugars and carbohydrates and alcohol and made sure to drink a lot more water. And so, how do we know that this lifestyle is working? For me, 2 years later, I quickly lost 10 pounds. My cholesterol levels dropped 40 points almost immediately. My skin is brighter and clear. And most importantly, I feel healthier and more energetic. And also, my oncologist monitors my blood work every 4 months, and that consists of cancer markers and also circulating tumor cell tests that look for cells within my bloodstream that match my original tumor. I'm happy and grateful by the grace of God that those have all been normal. This is a picture of me when I was probably at my highest weight. Now, I still have some weight to lose. I gained some weight in COVID. And one of the things I found is that I can really lose the weight and I don't have to be watching how much I eat. I can eat as much as I want, but the foods I eat really impact whether I'm losing weight or not. It's a journey. This is Kelly, a picture of her when she was doing her talk. So let's do very briefly about the causes of breast cancer. From a genetic perspective, there are gene mutations that can significantly increase your risk of breast cancer. And a vast majority of breast cancer cases, though, are not purely genetics. Our epigenetics or our lifestyle really does play a big role. There's also hormonal imbalances, such as prolonged exposure to estrogen and progesterone, that can increase your risk of breast cancer. However, these imbalances are usually linked to your liver function, and the liver is playing a real crucial role in regulating the hormones. And when it's overburdened with toxins that are from a poor diet, it can't effectively manage those hormones. Believe it or not, our liver actually does about 500 different functions in the body. It's like the hero of our body. If our liver isn't working and doing all of its jobs, then our health will suffer. It might take some time, but it will suffer. In addition, there's environmental factors like exposure to pollutants. And if you think our houses have a lot of pollutants in them just from all of the household products that we have. And I want to say, yesterday I saw a commercial. They're now promoting not just antiperspirant, but body antiperspirant that you put all over your whole body. I see that and I'm like, oh my gosh. We have all these things that they're promoting to put on your body that are really just more toxins. And our skin is such a big organ, takes all of that in, and it really can overload our toxic burden on our bodies. And so that'll impact our cellular health and also the function of our cells. But the major one is lifestyle. Our diet, our physical activity, alcohol consumption, stress management, those all play a really significant part in our diet. Poor choices, lack of our diet, lack of exercise, high stress are going to be conducive to the development and progression of cancer. I want to get in now. The real meat of it is the metabolic nutrition and detox. So what is that? Metabolic nutrition is actually a dietary approach which focuses on optimizing the body's metabolism through consumption of nutrient-dense whole foods. The aim is to provide the body with essential nutrients that it needs to efficiently support overall health and prevent or manage disease. It's comprised of four things: real food, that's real whole food, juicing, liver detox, and supplements are the four parts. For metabolic nutrition, it's whole, unprocessed foods. We're emphasizing fresh, organic fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds to avoid processed and refined foods. So if it has a label on it, it's probably something you should think twice about. Now, I eat some food that's coming from a can or has a label on it, but most of the time I'm eating real fresh foods. And if you can, organic is better because of the toxic burden on it. I know it's not perfect. Even if you were a nomad living in the middle of nowhere, I don't think you could ever get away from the toxins in our world. But if the whole thing is, what can we minimize, and being aware of it. Then there's the nutrient density. We want to prioritize getting in a lot of nutrients into our body, foods that are rich in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytochemicals are really important for and essential for our cellular health and our immune function and overall vitality. We also want to balance our macronutrients, which is our carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats that support our metabolic functions. Over time, we've had this pendulum where sometimes carbohydrates are the bad guy, sometimes fat is the bad guy, and people focus a lot on protein. As a plant-based person, the number one question people ask is, where do you get your protein? But really, it's about a balance, and plants actually have protein. And if you eat beef, a cow naturally eats grass, right? They're getting their protein from the grass and from plants. When you eat the beef, it's really just the middleman between the plants and us. Definitely, we can get our protein. Carbohydrates are really necessary. Scrap from your mind the whole idea of low carb, and also you need fats. But we want to make sure they're healthy fats and healthy carbs, because as I mentioned before, if you're just eating sugar like what I was doing before, then you're taking in a lot of processed foods, processed sugar. It's just like an IV of sugar going straight into your bloodstream. The other thing is we want to aim to enhance through our foods the metabolic rate and efficiency, providing the nutrients that our body needs to support and maintain all of the functions that happen. Our body is actually very smart. It's an engineering feat that we could never actually make ourselves. There's a lot of regulation that goes on. If there's too much of this or not enough of that, the body compensates. It's regenerating cells at a crazy rate. But if we're not giving our body the nutrition that we need, then it's not able to function at the peak that we would want it at. It's like a race car. If you're putting in the right fuel, you've got this well-oiled machine that can go all in a race. But if you give it the wrong kind of fuel or gas, then it's not going to work for you. And the same thing goes for our body. And then we want to reduce the toxins and the toxic load. If you think about our body as a house, if you do your cleaning daily and do some dusting and sweeping, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. If I don't do this sweeping every day, then I've got fur balls that are starting to develop in the house. If I leave it for longer than that, or my kids leave it for longer than that when they're supposed to be vacuuming, then it will start to pile up. And that's the same as our body. By taking in the right nutrients and nutrifying our body, as well as detoxing it, we're helping to keep our body's environment, like our house, clean. Then the juicing, what it does for us is it acts like an IV of nutrients. When we are following the program where we're trying to nutrify our body and get more nutrients in, the juices are really there to help to get the nutrients in very quickly. Juices have the fiber out of the juice. The best is a cold pressed juice that you do make yourself. then you're getting the nutrients going straight into your body. And if you're going through treatment, it really helps, because if you're having trouble eating and digesting, the juice is a good way to get nutrients in to your body. And so that's the reason for the juicing. And we actually do on the program three juices a day. One for each meal is the standard. But if you have a certain chronic illness, and cancer is one, if you're going through treatment, the recommendation is a much higher amount of, you're really trying to just get those nutrients in, because that also the juicing helps to remove the toxins as well. We've talked about the toxins and the fact that our liver is a real main key to our detoxification. And one of the practices for doing a liver detox is a coffee enema. Have you heard of the coffee enemas at all?
I have, yes.
Yes.
I have, yeah. I've not done one, but I've heard of them.
So what happens in the coffee enema is the coffee goes into your colon and it stimulates the liver to produce bile. And the bile is what binds to the toxins, and it allows us to remove more of the toxins. Think of your body again as a house, and there's some of these toxins that have been stored up. You've gone through chemotherapy, you've taken other drugs. Like for me, I had debilitating headaches. I took a lot of drugs. And our body doesn't always get rid of all of those at once. If you've ever done any kind of a detox program, a lot of times what happens at the very beginning is you get this detox flu when you're going through it, where you feel really, really crappy and you just want to stop because you feel so lousy. And then if you wait it out, a few days later, you start feeling better. That's a good sign that you've got toxins in your body that you need to get rid of. And an interesting side effect of the coffee enemas, if you have some kind of pain like a headache or something, it actually can help to reduce the symptoms and maybe remove it. A school of people that would say if you have a headache, do a coffee enema. That'll get rid of it. I haven't tested it out myself because thankfully I very rarely get headaches anymore. And there are some supplements we can really get taken in by all the supplements that are out there. There's a couple of supplements that are recommended for long-term. Because I'm in Canada, we don't get a lot of sun, so they always recommend taking vitamin D. But also, if you're on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, the B12 is something that you should supplement. They're actually finding that the microorganisms in the soil that produce the vitamin B12, we're getting that less and less. So there's some recommendations that everybody should take vitamin B12. There's some other supplements that are recommended when you're going through the program and starting out. I don't want to get into that, but I want to say that supplements are a supplement. They are not a replacement for good nutrition. And the supplements actually don't even really help you unless you're already eating well. But something just to be mindful of: what kind of supplements are you taking? Are they really being effective, or are you just wasting your money? Because the supplement industry is pretty slick. Be mindful of the supplements that you are taking. Let's get into some of the practical stuff and talk about the program that I'm doing. Is very simple. Here's the kind of foods. Every day for breakfast, I have oatmeal. And there's 3 ways to do your oatmeal. You can have a juice like an orange juice or a grapefruit juice with it, where you squeeze the grapefruit or the orange yourself. Not the stuff you buy in the store, but the stuff that you make yourself. If you have a juicer, you can do the juicing as well. It's a good thing to do if you have a juicer. But you can start without the juicer. I have a 14-day kickstart program where we start by eating the food and getting used to the meal prep. Then if people want to, if they have a juicer, they can do that. It's a big investment getting a juicer. So if you don't have a juicer, that's fine. You can also do smoothies as well. And as a bonus, I will give you some information on the juicing and the smoothies in a couple of videos that you can watch on your own. Basically, I have a salad. So my salad takes up half my plate. And I usually use spring mix that is already pre-washed, and I just take a handful. But you can use any lettuce you want other than iceberg. You could use spinach, arugula, you can use kale, bok choy, and herbs. Now, if your digestive system is really compromised, you may want to hold back on the kale because it is quite one of harder to digest. But you can also cook your kale. Then you can add other toppers like tomatoes, red cabbage, shredded carrots, onions, radishes, beets, sweet peppers, cauliflower, broccoli, whatever you choose. There's apparently 350,000 different plants out there that we can eat. Whatever is in season, whatever is there, and what you like too, and try some new ones. Then we do some cooked veggies, and I really like cooking root vegetables. They get a nice sweet taste, and we do it with the skins on. Don't take the skin off because there's a lot of nutrients in the skin. You just wash them, and then all you do is put them in the oven in a casserole dish at 350 degrees, and about an hour or so, and then with the lid on, and then they're cooked. Beets, onions, you can put in tomatoes, sweet potato, butternut squash. And what I'll do with the butternut squash is just take the whole thing and put it in the oven on a piece of parchment paper so that it doesn't leak, and roast it. And after, I can slice it and peel it, and then that'll be part of my meal. The one part that I love is eating baked potatoes. I have a baked potato with my lunch and my dinner. Potatoes have had a bad rap. They're a starchy vegetable, but potatoes are as close to a perfect vegetable as there is in terms of the nutrients and how it can sustain us. If you read up on the Irish famine, they survived on potatoes. There is a guy, his name is Andrew Spudfit Taylor. Have you heard of him? He lived,
I haven't.
he was basically overweight and had a lot of depression and anxiety and was almost ready to end his life. And he decided he was going to go on a diet, and he was going to eat one food and only one food for 1 year. He did a lot of research. He was medically supervised, and he picked the potato because of how complete the nutrients are. Potatoes get a bad rap, but they're actually really good for you. If you want to start eating a potato for lunch and dinner, go for it. I eat a baked potato for both my lunch and dinner. And as a matter of fact, my meal plan is basically half my plate is salad, and half the rest of my plate is my baked potato and my roasted veggies. And then I pour a nice sauce on it. And I do that lunch and dinner. I can eat as much as I want till I'm satisfied. And if I'm eating like that, truly, I feel full, but I feel really good. And it works. You can also add in some legumes and grains, your whole grain, rice, quinoa, oatmeal, not the quick oats, but for sure you're eating oatmeal for breakfast. I started to say for oatmeal, you can do the overnight oats, or you can cook it, or you could do what I do a lot of times. I just put a handful of oatmeal into a bowl, take some hot water and put it on, probably about half a cup of oatmeal to 1/4 cup of water or so. And then I just let it sit for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the counter. And that's it. I eat it that way. Not very glamorous, but it does the job and it fills you up. I was talking to one of my clients. She says, Debbie, when I eat my oatmeal in the morning, I'm not hungry until like middle of the afternoon. You can also do legumes, so chickpeas, beans, lentils, split peas, and you can buy them in the can, which is fine. I always look for organic and no salt added. You'll see there's no salt in this either. So we want to stay away from sodium if we can, or limit it. But you can make your own too. So it just takes more time, but anything you make at home will taste better. It's more time. The other one is to do a dressing. This is where you get your variety from, is your dressings. So your dressing will have vinegar, either lemon, lime, or orange juice, one or two of those things. You can add some veggies, either raw or roasted. Add either a cold press organic olive oil or flaxseed oil, and some herbs. You can add all of that stuff together and you have a beautiful dressing. I do meal prep on Sundays. I actually have a prep with me class that I've started where you can come and do your meal prep with me. And that meal prep, I'm baking a bunch of potatoes. I'm roasting veggies. I'm making about 3 dressings for the week. And then when I go to eat on Monday at lunch, I just warm up my cooked vegetables. I've also cut up and dice up my onion and carrots and stuff that I'm going to put on my salad. And then I can pick and choose and put them on and pick a dressing, and it actually tastes good. We're aiming for 30 or so different plant foods per week. And my comment is to be adventurous and open to trying new things. It's always good to try new things, for sure. And you don't know until you try it. I went salt-free this year, and my kids will tell you I'm a saltaholic, but it took about 2 to 3 weeks. All of a sudden, my food started tasting different after a couple of weeks. You need to give your taste buds 2 to 3 weeks or so to acclimatize to your new eating. And then it's all good after that, but it does take a little time. Here's some bowls that I put together. This one at the top here is a fajita bowl. It's got black beans, and I've got one, it's got asparagus and my sauce on top. And I'm generous with my sauces. I love to call it slather it on. I love to make sure I've got lots of sauce. You don't have to. I'm getting all my nutrients. And the other interesting thing that happened by eating this way is I started slowing down on my eating, because with the lettuce and all the veggies, you really have to chew them. When I eat like a pasta dish or something, it just slides down. So definitely, without even trying, became more mindful about my eating, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. So here's what not to eat. Minimize the food with a label on it. If you have canned legumes or something is okay, but really stay away from heavily processed foods. That's the frozen, preserved, packaged. A lot of foods are very heavily processed. Refined things like flour, oils, beverages. The 2 oils so for sure, flaxseed oil and then properly cold pressed organic olive oil is okay as well, but all the rest of the oils stay away from. Anything that might be hard to digest for you, and that might be if you have an allergy or sensitivity to it. And then anything that has salt, sugar, oil, which is the SOS of the processed foods, they actually get you addicted to the processed foods with the salt, sugar, and oil. That's the whole thing. Then sodium, which is what we usually use for salt, that is something to stay away from. And what I do now is I use lemon juice. I love salt in a soup. And so having a soup without salt is like, whoa. But if I add lemon, and I'll add half a lemon to my soup, it really just changes the whole taste. That's the trick to the sodium, is add a little lemon juice. No alcohol, no animal products, and then also stay away from your caffeine. So that's the list of foods. If you're eating whole food, plant-based, and you're eating well, I hear sometimes people will say they feel like they're hungry all the time, but eat well, really eat enough. I feel like sometimes people don't eat enough. And if you're full and you're satisfied with your 2 meals and then your oatmeal for breakfast, then you probably less likely want to eat some of these other foods. And I find if I'm eating well and I eat my meals properly, that, as I mentioned here, then I have no room for any snack in the evening. The other side of this is the mindset side, which it is also important. When I first started looking at wanting to do this, I realized that it's not just about the food. The food is the foundation. There's no question about it. It is the foundation, and you need to eat well. But you also have to understanding the power of our mind, and that is very important. There's a quote by Wayne Dyer that I always love. I have it posted on my bulletin board at my desk. As you think, so shall you be. How you think is how you will be. If you are thinking negative thoughts, then you are just asking for more negativity in your life. If you are thinking positive, then you're looking at positive stuff happening. The way we think and perceive our experiences has a profound impact on our health and our healing as well. So really, if your mindset, if you can have a positive mindset, that is going to help you immensely. And so the power of the mindset, I want to talk very briefly about 4 things. Seeing cancer as a gift. And it might seem like, why would you see cancer as a gift? That sounds surprising. But if you can see that as a wake-up call or something to say, hey, I need to make some changes to my life to really improve things. When I was going through with my daughter, I started off with the woe is me, but I always learned to look for the silver lining. And so if you can look for the silver lining and view the fact that you have gone through cancer as an opportunity to say, hey, maybe I need to make some lifestyle changes, then you can think of it as a gift. The other thing is to take ownership and be your own best advocate. You are the captain of your ship, and to make sure that whatever you decide to do for yourself, that you're doing it for you and that you're leading your team, not your doctor, not your family, no one else. Be sure that you are the one that's leading your journey and making the decisions for your health, whatever they may be. And everybody has a different journey and will take a different path. My truth is that the food is medicine. So I'd love to see everybody take that path. But apparently about 20 to 30% of people will see alternative as the way. A lot of people will stick with the conventional treatments that their oncologist provides. And some people don't want any treatment. Whatever you decide, make it for yourself and be your own best advocate, leader and CEO of your own team. And then embrace positivity. And that goes to what I said before, as you think, so shall you be. The other thing is leave your fear at the door. Fear is very paralyzing and counterproductive in the healing process. If you can embrace positivity and courage, that will help you to improve your healing for sure. And if you think about your thoughts being seeds in a garden, you want positive thoughts will grow a flourishing garden of health for you, and negative thoughts and fear will overtake and choke your garden with weeds. I know sometimes it's hard to be positive, but there are things that you can do and exercises you can do to help you to be positive and take a positive role. And the last one I'll just talk very briefly is your peer group. Surround yourself with people who are supportive and positive and who understand your journey and can help you with your journey. They can provide you with emotional support, practical advice, motivation, whatever it is that you need. But if you decide that you want to pursue a plant-based lifestyle, being around a bunch of meat eaters that are telling you to eat meat and wanting to go to restaurants and encourage you to go back to your other eating, maybe not the right kind of peer group for you. So it's important to have a good peer group. I know that sometimes oncologists will say that you can eat whatever you want and diet isn't a factor. And I saw that with my daughter. But the truth is that even if you go through conventional treatment, nourishing your body can only help you. It can't hurt you. It can only help you. There's lots of evidence out there supporting whole food, plant-based and plant-rich diet. That's where we get our antioxidants, the phytochemicals, the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals, and those can all help to support your body. You need the fuel, like the race car. You need to have the right fuel for your body. That concludes my presentation. I'm going to say one last thing. This is one of my favorites, and I started my journey more than 10 years ago. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and I just encourage you to take one step. You don't have to go all in, but if you at least try some of the suggestions or do something, you never know where it takes you. I started with a juice cleanse because I was bound and determined I was going to get off sugar. And when I started that, I almost stopped because the juice tasted so bad. But after a few weeks, I literally was plugging my nose the first week, I think. And I took that first juice and I thought, oh my gosh, this tastes so bad. I know it's good for me. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to drink it anyways. And I literally plugged my nose. But after 3 weeks, I was actually enjoying the juices. So that gives you an idea of how things can change for you. And like I said, I just urge you to take the first step. All right. Are there any questions?
I do. I have a couple. So you said the oatmeal in the morning. When I eat oatmeal, I get hungry.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's because there's no protein with it. Have you heard anybody else say that? Or is it pretty much everybody if they eat
I would say to try have you done the overnight oats?
I haven't, and the pictures I've seen of them, they look soggy.
Oh,
it doesn't look good to me.
Okay. I'll send you my recipe for overnight oats, and I want you to try it. And if you put like hemp hearts and chia seeds in them, those are rich in protein and also really high fiber. So I'll send you that. I'm going to send you the juicing, and got a couple of videos, one on juicing, one on smoothies. I have a smoothie recipe. It's a green smoothie recipe book that probably smoothies you've never tried before, if you're interested in smoothies. But if you're not, that's fine. But I'll send you overnight oats. And I just finished getting some feedback from a client who said, I really took a leap of faith to try those and I loved them. She didn't want to try them. So I want you just to try it. That might help. And that's funny because she's been eating the overnight oats and she feels like she's full for hours after that. So try it, see how it goes. They do look soggy, but they're I don't know, they taste pretty good too. You can add a little bit of sweet and stuff.
Do you eat it cold or do you heat it up?
I eat it cold. Try it. Maybe you won't like it. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll try anything. You mentioned using a good cold pressed olive oil. What is there a brand?
I have heard that this is like honey is the same way, that because there's such a demand, that there are some brands that are fake. They're not real. But if you put it in the fridge and it clouds up, then it's a good one. So you could just take what you have. And if it's extra virgin olive oil, that technically means that it's cold pressed. Okay. But I don't know. I hate to say, I buy mine at Costco.
What brand do you use?
I can't remember. I'll get the brand, but it has like a horse on it and a yellow label. I don't remember the brand name. And I do know because I have some stored in my garage in the winter, and because where we are, it's cold. It does definitely cloud up. So I'm assuming it's good, but I'll get the brand name for you.
And regarding nuts, I like nuts and I like to incorporate them in my diet. Does it matter if I assumed that raw nuts were better than roasted or something, but when I eat raw almonds, I can be hungry again in just a couple of hours. But I think if I eat the dry roasted ones, they, for some reason.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest you buy the raw almonds. So there's a few things. You don't have a dehydrator by any chance, do you?
I don't.
Okay. I would buy the raw almonds and roast them yourself. And that's the best way. You'll have fresh roasted almonds. You can do that.
Just literally throw them on like some parchment paper for 400 for.
Yeah, so you can 400, 350 to 400, whatever you want. So if you do 400, say 350, 400, start with 10 minutes. You will know when they are done because they will smell so heavenly. You'll smell them and they'll smell really good.
And so no topping or anything, or no, I guess they wouldn't need oil. Okay. So
no, just put them in the oven. So the one thing about the nuts and is I have a dehydrator, so I dehydrate mine. They do have an enzyme inhibitor coating on them. And technically you should soak them first, but that would happen like if you buy dry roasted too, they wouldn't have that. You should technically soak them first overnight to get rid of the enzyme inhibitor, because that actually is an anti-nutrient and it is not great for our digestive system. But I haven't tried soaking them and then roasting them from soaking, because if I usually dry mine in my dehydrator, that's how I dry them. But you can just dry them for a day, just lay them out like on a tea towel or something and let them dry. That's a lot of work. I don't know. But I just letting you know that. And if you want to go ahead, you could just put them on a parchment paper on a baking sheet and bake them either 350 or 400. I've been going with 350 to use like a lower heat lately with all of my cooking. It helps. I don't know how much it helps the nutrients, but apparently it's supposed to be better. And start with 10 minutes. And I always put a timer on because then I'll forget and I'll burn them.
Yeah.
You can tell when they're done by they'll smell so good.
Yeah.
Try that.
And that works for any nut, like walnuts or.
Yeah, we do that with cashews are great for that. Walnuts. Yeah. I've never really done walnuts like that, but you could. Yeah, you could do that with any nuts if you wanted to. And I would feel better if you're buying them raw and then baking them in the oven yourself, roasting them yourself.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I eat walnuts now, and I eat those raw, my tongue gets a little itchy afterwards. Is that I'm developing an allergy?
It may be those enzyme inhibitors, because I find if I'm eating walnut, they feel a little bitter to me, but after I've washed, like I've soaked them, there's such a difference in how they taste. I don't know if you want to try, but it could be the enzyme inhibitors that are on them. You could try soaking them, but then like they're mushy, then they're not mushy, but they're soft. And you really, what you could do is put them in, the other thing you can do is put them in the oven on the lowest temperature and just let them dry out until they get crunchy again. And you could try it and see how it works.
Okay. Another question. Oh, what about almond butters and those butters do you eat?
Yeah, those are fine. Yeah, you could do that. Just watch what they have for ingredients. If you can just buy something that's just almond butter and not a bunch of other ingredients, then that would be okay.
And then I'm trying to, I know I need to increase my protein intake. Do you have any recipes for like snack bars or like protein bars or like a grab and go kind of?
Yeah, I mean, you can do, I mean, I don't know if it has a lot of protein, but for sure, like I've got energy balls recipes that are really good that are definitely, you can grab and go those, and they're easy to make. Basically, you throw everything in your food processor, make a ball and store them in the fridge. So I can send you some energy ball recipes.
Okay.
And so if you want to increase your protein, look, especially if you're doing stuff like snack bars and stuff for yourself, like adding hemp hearts is a really good way to do that as well.
Yeah.
But I will say that for the most part, we do get enough protein just by eating a balanced diet. unless you're like, unless they're like, if you were like an athlete or doing a lot of exertion, then maybe you want to bump up your protein. I don't know. But most of us should be getting enough protein. I think most, on average, Americans and Canadians are eating twice as much protein as what's required in a day, even those that are plant-based. There was no difference really between plant-based and standard American diet in terms of how much protein, almost the same. So you may already be getting enough protein. I don't know if it was somebody told you or you just know for.
Was in trying to, I was pretty sedentary during my treatment because I just didn't feel good. And so trying to get my like energy back and build the lean muscle mass, they were telling me that making sure you get enough protein to rebuild the muscle, and just went through menopause, so there's all that.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I was advised to, and also I wake up in the middle of the night hungry.
Okay.
And so one of my doctors was saying, check out your protein intake and maybe you need to ramp that up, and that would stop the middle of the night hunger. So
maybe, I don't know. A lot of it has to do with the sensors on your stomach, like how full your stomach is. So I don't know how much leafy greens you're getting, but I would start by increasing all of that kind of stuff. Maybe that might help too.
yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty good, but I'm not super consistent that I get everything every day.
Yeah.
I have to focus on that.
Yeah. And I find when I can still be eating whole food, but maybe not eating enough, or maybe eating a little bit of processed stuff here and there. And boy, it can throw you off really fast.
Yeah.
It really can. Every once in a while. That's the other thing, right? Is that we're human and these things happen. But yeah, so try that. See what happens. Have a potato every meal.
I do like potatoes and I love sweet potatoes. So that's.
Oh, sweet potatoes go. I found these Japanese sweet potatoes here. Sweet potatoes are potatoes too. I don't know if you've ever tried a Japanese sweet potato. Oh my gosh. I found them.
Yellow inside.
They're more yellowy, yeah. Oh, they are so good. They're bigger too. And I just like, oh man, when I get those, I'm in heaven when I have those. But sweet potatoes are good too, not just regular. So up your potato content. That'll be an easy one for you. And you can make a really nice sweet potatoes with black beans and add some other fixings and stuff and make really nice potato. Oh,
yeah.
I'm getting hungry already.
Like that sounds good for dinner tomorrow.
Yeah. So you could try something like that for sure. All right.
Okay.
So I will send you, I'll get I can get you through the
meetup.
Yep, yeah. And I'll send you the stuff. And then, yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know or want to know more. I am doing my Kickstart program starting July the 15th, which is a Monday. And so we go through a couple weeks of eating, basically similar to what I pulled stuff from that prep call that I do from that. So if you want to join in and come along for that, then just let me know. I'd love to have you join the program. But no, that's just something if you're interested. But I'll send you the juicing and the smoothie and which olive oil I use and some energy bite and ball information and an overnight oat recipe too.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
I appreciate you joining. And also, I guess the other question I forgot to ask, is there what kind of things would you be interested in for this in terms of the meetup?
Well, definitely recipes.
Okay.
And yeah, the meal prepping for the week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was because I have a hard time. I want to do that, but I just have a hard time getting it all organized. So if there was
okay. Yeah, and this is what I love about this program is because I'm like you, getting it organized for the week. So that if I meal prep and I have everything ready, then I'm more likely to eat what I'm supposed to. And if I didn't, then I'm more likely to just grab something and probably not something I should be eating. And this is so easy. Like it's basically very easy, and you can add more recipes if you want, but it's very simple and basic to last kind of for every day. And then if you want to make something more special or you wanted to have a change, you can make something else. But for the most part, for the week, it's so easy to, it's like you can put it on autopilot. And that's what I really like about it. And to avoid the boredom, you can change up what vegetables and things that you're using and what sauces you're doing and experiment. But at least you have a very easy starting point, and
Yeah.
then you can add to it from there. So that's what I really like about it. Because, yeah, the meal planning, for myself, sitting down and planning it, it's not, I can do it for somebody else, but not that much for myself.
Yeah, I do all the research and I start doing things and then I get overwhelmed and leave it. No, and don't ever end up doing it.
This is the easiest meal prep you'll ever do. It's very easy. And when I'm done, I'll have to do some prep in the middle of the week, but very little. Most of it's already done. Really simple.
Sounds good. I think that's all I have right now.
Very good. You have a good day or evening, and thanks for joining.
Thank you.